Welcome to Impacting Jamaica, where we shine the spotlight on the many but often ignored positive happenings, activities, projects, and investments at every level across every sector to inspire, motivate, and excite people everywhere. Impacting Jamaica is powered by the Philip and Christine Gore Family Foundation, the Jamaica Public Service Company, Manpower and Maintenance Services Limited, Red Stripe, Kyramed, and Proven Investments Limited. Hello, friends and listeners. Welcome to the Impacting Jamaica podcast. My name is Shelley-Ann Harris. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with academic powerhouse Dr. Sheldon Campbell about a topic that has and will no doubt continue to capture the world's attention and imagination. Dr. Campbell is the author of a new book, Maximising Technology, a guide to using ChatGPT and 250 other artificial intelligences to improve society. Dr. Campbell, welcome to Impacting Jamaica.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Now, to kick things off, let's help our listeners define for them AI. What is artificial intelligence?
All right. So artificial intelligence, or AI, is basically when we create computer systems or machines that can do things that usually need human intelligence. This means they can learn, solve problems, recognize patterns, understand what people are saying, make decisions. The idea is to make these systems think and act like humans to get different tasks done.
All right, fair enough. Your book is designed to unlock the incredible potential of AI, and some of you write to talk about you being an AI enthusiast. Talk to us about then the top three possibilities regarding AI that get you excited.
Okay, before I talk about those three, I just want to just say, right now there's this huge buzz, as you said in the introduction, about ChatGPT, which is a natural language processing AI. And, ChatGPT, the thing about it is it's designed to generate human-like text. And, and because of that, in terms of how we engage in conversations, that is how we would approach even an AI like ChatGPT, using it in various applications. So one of the things is a lot of persons recently, when they found out about ChatGPT and what it could do, they became excited. So that was one of the things. But let me answer your question in terms of the three possibilities. One of the first thing, or I say one of the coolest things about AI, and a lot of us, if we look at what happens in maybe manufacturing, you find that AI tends to automate things that are repetitive, and what this means is you can spend more time focusing on the things which, in terms of like creativity, complex acts, the more complex aspects of our work, which really can then mean that we could boost productivity and efficiency because the fact that it saves time. So that makes me excited. Maybe I'd need to give an example. So, for example, in say customer service, an AI chatbot can handle routine customer inquiries. And we see more and more businesses in Jamaica are using chatbots for things like that. So the point is we have the AIs doing that kind of stuff so that we can focus on, as I said, the more complex things. And so that would be the first thing that gets me excited. This idea of, go ahead.
The first thing would be automation and just getting routine done automatically.
Yes, and that looks differently in many areas. I mean, even in something like say HR, nowadays a lot of even things like resumes are scanned and filtered through AI, and makes it much easier for HR professionals to spot who the best candidates are. But all right, but let me jump into the second one. And I kind of already spoke a little bit about ChatGPT, but one of the things that makes me excited is in terms of like things like content creation. I believe ChatGPT can help to generate revenues, not only for the persons who developed the AI itself, but even for businesses that use this technology to create content. So whether it be that they're creating content for say marketing or advertising or resumes or business plan, whatever it is. I think companies can reach their target audience more effectively. And as I said, because of the whole productivity, you're also able to lower your cost. So if you think about it, if you're lowering your cost, but also have the opportunity to increase your revenue, then your profitability is impacted positively, which is a big deal. So that would be the second thing.
That's awesome for the company, but I can hear all my content creator friends out there screaming, I'm losing my job. So, I mean, I'm coming to that in another question, but I'm listening to the benefits that you're pointing out, and they are real because companies, private sector can say, yeah, man, our profitability will increase over time because you can reduce these costs. But there's always another side to the story. So let me not preempt some of the next topic that we'll discuss in terms of some of the risks. So you can go ahead with your third point that gets you excited.
Right. So the third one would be where it levels, I would say level the playing field for businesses. And I'm thinking more of the kind of like the small businesses, the startups. And for persons, it also levels the field for, I would say, people who generally just don't have the resources. So the poor class, if you want to call it that, who generally wouldn't have access to AI technology. They now have it. For instance, let's talk about ChatGPT again. You only in Jamaica we have smartphones. Everybody have a smartphone. As a matter of fact, if you go in the inner city, a lot of the persons in the city have 2 or 3 smartphones. So the phone isn't the issue. Maybe it might be that they need to get service. No, I believe persons could go by credit, put the data on their phone and use a tool like ChatGPT to do productive work. The money that they get, they pay for their monthly Wi-Fi service, whatever, internet. And through that, they now have a business. They have a way that they can make money. And I just think this makes me excited. So I would say not only those who are historically or in the past who would have had this technology, now persons from any strata of society can use this resource. So that those would have been my 3 that gets me excited.
Okay, so persons from any strata in society, you're saying, has access to any technology. The smartphone indeed opens a gateway to almost any kind of app or AI that is available. But I listened to that potential benefit or possibility, and I wonder about how it goes against the second point you made about the private sector being able to use and leverage AI themselves. So would the small man, the individual, really have a leg up or a differentiated opportunity to make money using AI?
That is an excellent question. So let me tell you where I'm heading with that. So don't think necessarily the person who is just starting out competing necessarily with the established businesses. Where I want you to think is starting out like a freelancer. Your Upwork, your Fiverr, these kind of things. Where one of the benefits, and I to say this now, but one of the benefits for the pandemic is that persons recognize that they could use tools like Zoom and Microsoft Teams, all these kind of things. And what is happening with technology now is that there's a lot of remote work that is taking place. And so what I'm pushing to say is that individuals now can work as freelancers anywhere. And again, it's just a matter of recognizing the time, understanding where technology is. No, as you get more, as you develop more as a freelancer, you may decide to start your own small business and try to compete with other companies. But what I'm saying is, no, I do believe persons can make a good living, starting off small, maybe as a freelancer, and then moving up the ranks. So,
okay, yeah. Got you. All right. So you described some of the benefits and the possibilities, and I think they're clear that there are, when it comes to automation, data entry, come on, there's so many things that AI can do for us. But there are those who perceive great risks when it comes to AI. The replacement of human capital, for one, which, is a consequence of automation, right? And in terms of education, the dumbing down is what I call it, of the youth who will have it too easy. And there are stories out there about people using ChatGPT to do their essays, to do, I hear the writers complaining about feature writing and so on, but forget that for a second. We're talking about also students who will use ChatGPT to do their essays, so they're not really developing the skills to really do critical thinking in the construction of their writing for an essay because of the opportunities that particular app provides. How do you see these risks, and how can we address them?
All right. So again, excellent question. All right. So the first one, in terms of replacing of human capital, I'll touch that, and then I'll go into education and the risk. All right. So in terms of the first one, yes, there is going to be job loss. Yes, there's going to be job displacement. Even OpenAI, which is a company that where ChatGPT was developed, they and University of Pennsylvania came out with a study to show that yes, 80% of even the U.S. workforce could have at least 10% of their tasks being affected by these kind of GPT systems, right? Now, one of the things that came out of the study was that they believe, the highest exposure to these in terms of job loss, displacement would it would fall in persons like say mathematicians, people who prepare tax, as you said, writers, people who do like web designing, journalists, legal secretaries. So you mentioned a few of them, right? So those would be persons who would be at most at risk, let me put it that way. But then, persons who I would consider to be those who, probably still are in that creative space, but they put a premium on what they do. So they found like maybe graphic designers may be that at risk because, again, they're creative geniuses and they put their spin on things. People who even though marketing might get a hit, but maybe those who are in the more marketing strategy area of marketing, they will not necessarily see that kind of hit. So there's a differentiation even in certain departments. No, and it kind of makes sense, because if you remember my first point when I was talking about what makes me excited, and we're talking about automating and repetitive tasks, what I was saying is that the areas that are repetitive, or you find the AIs would quickly be able to do things like that. But the more complex are areas that require creativity, more creativity. Those would be the ones where it wouldn't be that easy. And I would say, even if AI comes into this space, you can still be at a premium. So I'll give an example. An artist who learns to use AI can, because of how they have been trained, I believe their work would even be better.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
John, me know you're in there. Me want know when lights are come back. I know Pinky this time.
Keisha, just like me tell Pinky, give GPS your number and then we'll send your text with them things here. So you can stop, knock me door.
What you mean?
DMR call GPS and tell them to add your phone number to your account and you will know everything all the time.
You never ask. Send your current contact information and always be in the know. Visit jpsco.com for more info.
Searching for a one-stop solution to all your facilities maintenance needs? Visit Manpower Maintenance Services Sales and Distribution Center. We stock a wide range of COVID-19 washroom cleaning and other supplies, gardening tools, chemicals, and more. Our experts are always ready to give you the best advice. Manpower Maintenance Services Sales and Distribution Center, 14 Collins Green Avenue, Kingston, Freeport Commercial Center, Montego Bay, and 33 Ward Avenue, Mandeville. Visit or call us today, 876-920-4721-5.
Welcome back to our podcast.
I can recall some of our multilaterals, IDB and World Bank, some of those organizations, when they refer to the future of work, they talk about AI being an automation being a natural thing as we continue to develop new technologies and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess their encouragement to the human capital or to the workforce is that you have the opportunity to do more complex things. So the routine automated things, they're entering the same data here every day. And that's just an example. There are other ways, other things that are routine, but they point to the complexity of work and that you will now have an opportunity as a human to do more strategic things. I think that's what you're saying. And I mean, I understand it in theory, but do you think that's really where it's going to land?
I do. A matter of fact, if you recall, when the internet came about and websites and this and that, new roles came about. This idea of web developers and all of these kind of things. So and if you think about it, now we reach a point where we have self-driving cars, but at one point people used to ride a horse, they ride horses and you have somebody taking care of the horses in a stall and things. So over time, as automation and these various things, modernization, all these things have occurred, what we're recognizing is that we're using more less of just the kind of basic skills and we're moving towards, as you say, more complex things that we do as humans. So I agree. I think that's where we're going. As a matter of fact, one of the rules coming out of AI right now is this new term, prompt engineering or prompt engineer, which I'll talk to it a little bit later. But but I do think that's where everything is heading, that we're going to be using our skills, our talents to do more complex things. Yeah.
Okay, cool. We can talk about prompt engineering in a little bit, but I want you to now jump into the education risk.
Education,
yeah.
Exactly. So, as an educator, as you introduced me as a former academic dean, yes, education is obviously is going to take a hit, but it doesn't have to necessarily be looked on as a negative thing. So yes, persons have started to use ChatGPT to do their essays and things like that. So what that means is that teachers have to recognize that you have to be smart. So you can't just ask just any question that ChatGPT can answer. You may have to ask something like, could you write something which is relevant based on what we discussed yesterday? No, I don't know how ChatGPT will help you with that on the spot. But the point is, in the past, a lot of our education has been, you need to memorize this and regurgitate and this kind of learning. Where again, if we're thinking about what we're talking about here, about complexity and critical thinking, we now need to move from just memorize it 12 times, like what we learned growing up in primary school or whatever, prep school, to know how we can use our human capital in a more, as I say, at a higher level. And I think that is so. What that means is our assessments need to change. So for me now, I used to also work voluntarily with accreditation entities while I was academic dean, and this would be one way I would challenge the accreditation bodies in Jamaica to say, listen, start thinking about new ways of assessment, because the reality is AI it's not going anywhere. I mean, if we are honest, we're going to recognize it's not going anywhere. What teachers have found is that it makes their curriculum much better. So a lot of teachers right now, there are a lot of studies, even in my book, I talk about a lot of the studies now where persons are integrating it into the classroom, and they're finding that it's the classroom, the teaching, the various things are even better. So, but again, the problem persons tend to have is on the assessment side. So let me talk about the elephant in the room, which is plagiarism, which, that's where it always ends up.
Precisely, yes.
All right. So regarding plagiarism, one of the things which is interesting is ChatGPT, generally, it doesn't give you sources. So, you ask it to write something for you, and you say, give me the sources, and it gives you the sources, and 9 out of 10 times it's fictitious sources, which is just ridiculous. I'm sure they're going to fix that, and but right now, that's actually, even though it's a problem, it might actually be a good thing, because then if persons actually look at your reference page or bibliography or whatever, they would recognize that these are not true sources. The other thing too is, because the content from ChatGPT is AI generated, nowadays, you can easily just put that content in some kind of AI content detector, and it would tell you that this was generated by AI. No, understand something. This is Jamaica. I know it sounds bad to say this, but we have a lot of scammers. We have a lot of brilliant people, and they're going to find ways to beat the system. Exactly. So what happened is, they're going to let ChatGPT generate the content, then carry that content to another AI, which is going to change the content so the content looks like a human wrote that content.
Dr.
And then
Campbell, you're giving them ideas right now, but
no, I'm sure they're doing it already.
Okay. All right.
I'm sure.
All right.
But I'm just saying, so again, this is why I'm saying eventually we have to move from how we're assessing, because I think persons are going to, if people want to cheat, they're going to cheat. Yes, we need to have guardrails and put certain guidelines and things in there, but I'm just saying this is where things are at right now. So,
right. I agree with you, in terms of, if people are going to cheat, they're going to cheat, and the guardrails are important. But what about some of the building blocks of just learning? You talk about memorization and just some of the routine, rudimentary things in education that can be lost, and I guess as I'm listening to you, the fact is that some things will be lost. Some things are going to change. And I guess the question is if we're okay with the pace of the change that we're making, in the way that we had to become okay with web, be okay with, as you pointed to the horse and car, we have to be okay with a certain level of pollution, but then we've gained convenience. I think that is the real question. If we're okay with the pace of the change that seems inevitable.
Right. And that's it. I mean, that's where we have to go. But I think, and again, this is why I really applaud certain institutions that I've seen started to grapple with this. Just a few weeks ago, I was invited to a debate at UTech, and they did an excellent job of just talking about the fact that they think, well, yeah, we may have to change our assessments, and there were several professors there who said they've started to use it, and I thought that was helpful. I mean, yes, you're going to always have pushback, but it's also good to recognize that there are different perspectives in terms of how we approach education. So I thought that was good. But let me address the risk, because I know this is what a lot of persons would love to probably hear me address some of the areas.
Yes.
So already we're seeing articles written concerning. So we mentioned the idea of job loss before, but we're now seeing persons like Elon Musk now, who is possibly going to sue OpenAI because he believes that ChatGPT is biased, politically biased. It was trained with that kind of data. So that is one of the things we need to think about in terms of drawbacks, that as you train these models, it depends on the data. So if the data is biased, then the output, whatever your input is going to eventually come out is going to be output. Then also we have to think about things like privacy. How is it that it's going to protect us from certain things? ChatGPT, they came out with the GPT-4 model a few weeks ago, and one of the things that you will be able to do now is image generation. Now, think about it. This thing already has the power to do text generation, content creation, all that kind of stuff, and now image generation. So it literally can do what we saw a few weeks ago, where there was this deep fake thing with Trump being arrested, and nothing like that happened. But if you can generate an image and you write some content, and can you just imagine this kind of deep fake and all of the things that can come out of this? And unfortunately, again, people are going to use, with tools, you can use it for good or for bad. And unfortunately, I'm sure that you're going to have some scammers. And again, I know I'm on air, but I'm sure persons are going to want to use it for bad. But we have to, again, just try to see how we can put certain framework, whether it be legal framework, policy framework, ethical frameworks in place to counter some of these things. And so let's think about starting back with what I mentioned about bias. If we're thinking about combating, say, bias, then I think we're going to need to create, algorithms that, we might need to maybe know a little bit more about them, ensure that that these developers or creators are a little bit more transparent with how these things work, so we can somewhat try to secure some of these things. As we also talk about data privacy, I think, again, need to have regulations in place to protect persons from things like deepfake. I think in terms of job loss, even though we mentioned it earlier, I didn't talk about the idea of upskilling. I mean, we saw the article recently about persons in the BPOs and stuff like that are now threatening that they're at risk. But I responded to in the newspaper to say, listen, what it means is that we need to upskill and reskill, and this is something we need to talk about. You need to upskill. So, all right. So yes, they are in this industry, but yes, you can also train them to be more efficient. Earlier, I talked about the fact that you have chatbots who are doing some of these customer inquiry stuff. So you need to think of, all right, how can I provide premium service to those who call me? That's one of the ways I would say we need to be thinking strategically. And then lastly, what I would say is we also need to think about the ethical implications of these things. And again, I did mention about policies and regulations, but certainly some of the consequences that can come from these kind of AIs is pretty troubling. I mean, many of us would have saw an open letter a few weeks ago, kind of asking for them to pause the development of systems greater than GPT-4. The problem with that is the problem with that is I didn't think it was out of, like, for instance, and I'll say it on here. I don't mind saying this. I don't believe Elon Musk was upfront. I think he was trying to serve himself because he was buying time. So, even though he was someone who created OpenAI, he left in 2018 because of conflict of interest. But he has now created an AI company which will rival OpenAI. It's called X. And now he's talking about having this thing called Truth GPT. So the point is, in one sense, he's asking to pause something, but then he's also coming out with his own. So you have to understand in this space that don't think because you're thinking that, everybody in this space are trying to be ethical and of a certain bent, that is where everyone is at. I'd say no. We can't be naive in this space. And unfortunately, people are using this for revenue generation and wealth generation. And so you have to also put that in the mix. So just wanted to throw that out. I'm
glad you raised that point about ethics, because that, I think, is the profound concern that society may have and our listeners may have when it comes to AI, because in the world, in our Jamaica, there are problems. People will choose to be unethical and choose to be self-serving and choose to be corrupt. But when that happens at a certain scale, it's bad enough. But when the system is designed to be corrupt, and literally no system meaning some technology is designed to be corrupt or to have bias, then we have a larger problem, I think. And so the point about ethical regulations, I think, is well made. And I want to go into how prepared Jamaica is for AI, the benefits that we can gain, and also the risk that we would need to address. But we are out of time. So I'm wondering if you'd be able to join us again to go into that section of a discussion about Jamaica and more about your book that not only speaks about ChatGPT, but 250 other technologies that we could really get into. So can I ask you again, Dr. Campbell, to join us on another edition of Impacting Jamaica?
I would love to do that.
Great. So allow me to thank you for sharing with us so far. It's been enlightening, talking about the benefits and what you're excited about, the risks, because we really need to go into it with our eyes wide open and be able to leverage what is there for us to leverage. So thank you for being with us, and we will join you again soon.
It was my pleasure. Thanks. Bye.
Impacting Jamaica is powered by the Philip and Christine Gore Family Foundation, Manpower and Maintenance Services Limited, the Jamaica Public Service Company, Red Stripe, Kyramed, and Proven Investments Limited. If you or anyone you know is involved with projects and activities that excite, motivate, and encourage, send us an email to impactingjamaica@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Do join us again for another in the series on Google Podcast, Audible, Spotify, Podcast Addict, and Stitcher. You can also visit us at impactingjamaica.com.